This is another in the first read series where I read a poem by a poet I don't know or know very little about and just do a first reading for the sheer joy of it to get to know that person's work. Maybe I'm going to be completely off. Maybe I would change my mind when I, read some more work by the same poet. And that'll often happen when I know more about their themes. I might change the way I read things. But the first reading, too, is just for the joy of it and to see whether I want to keep going. This I found from Bramble Lit Mag, which took me to a place called Wisconsin Fellowship of Poets. So I'm not sure if that's part of the Bramble Lit Mag. I think it is. It's a kind of odd way that it kind of works its way out. But anyway, this is a poem called Plum Wine. As you can see, it's got a fall date on it. It's by this poet named Jody Curley, who I don't know at all. Looking at it, I always look at the form of a poem. This one looks classically, 20th century, 21st century free verse. It doesn't look like it's going to follow through with a kind of traditional meter. So I'm going to read it that way. I don't see any specific rhymes and stuff like that. There might be some that happen, but I don't think it's as purposeful. I don't mean that in a negative way. I just don't mean that's intended that way. Plum Wine. Plum Wine. This seems like such a simple title, but it evokes so many memories of, I think, largely Japanese poetry for me, since I know more about it than I do Chinese poetry, but I'm sure it shows up there as well quite a bit in Chinese and Japanese poetry. So that kind of evokes a tradition in the title itself. Walking on the shore alone, I drain my cup. Oh, this is funny. If I would see this first stanza on its own, I think this could almost has a very haiku-like quality in the stanza itself. So I think if you'd gotten rid of the rest of the poem, I would have been like, oh, that's a nice little haiku. And you might say, well, it doesn't have a traditional haiku format, but I think that's kind of a simple way of looking at haiku. Haikus are in spirit. Walking on the shore alone, I drain my cup. So this person walking on the shore drains the cup, which I'm assuming is plum wine, but this is what we got. White light sizzles on dark waters. All right. I'm saying white light sizzles on dark waters feels like a nighttime image. And then we get the full moon coming in right after that. The full moon brings the first frost of the season. So there's a lot of F's in that first full frost. Nice sounds in there. Of the season, my stiff fingers rub against each other like dry reeds. So it's kind of, having drunk up the plum wine. This person is there, the poet is there, the speaker is there. And it's, chilly at night, looking out over the dark waters. Stiff fingers rubbing against each other like dry reeds. The fingers connected to nature here in that kind of way. Rooting deep, turning with the trees. So there's that connection with the human and the natural again here. Rooting deep, I don't know whether there's a rooting deep around like in the ground or rooting deep inside oneself. It sounds like inside oneself with the trees, the gravity of my years, pulls of my weary eyes and heart. Yes, it definitely feels like it's going inside, like rooting around. The kind of sense of being growing older as it is and weary, heart weary, having drunk, what is the joy of spring. And now here you're rooting around deep for things. Turning with the trees. There's a lot of nice sounds that repeat in here. I think it has a nice ear. But the only thing I would say with like a stanza like this is it'd be nice to see some line breaks that we don't expect here. This one, they turn where you expect them, rooting deep, turning with the trees. The gravity of my years pulls at my weary eyes and heart. That last one, you don't really kind of expect to go that way. It kind of stresses hard as itself. It's late. This feels like everything in this poem feels like it's late at this point. It's like it's a late in the season. It's late in this person's life, the speaker's life. It's late in how they think about their life. The lake birds have flown I feel drunk with longing and more mortal with each leaf that falls. A kind of sense of like life passing, its connection to the leaves falling and one's own mortality, connecting it in. And even though drinking plum wine, it's drunk with longing, right? Not with alcohol, with longing for whatever it is one longs for at this point. Is it more life? Is it to understand one's life better? This person is alone. It's night. There's the water out there. It's a very lonely scene in itself. So interesting poem. It seems fairly straightforward, nature-connected poem. This kind of sense of trying to explore who one is at a certain period of one's life, trying to connect that sense of who one is with nature and put that into words. So interesting piece, like I said. Jody Curley says it's a Madison native. And there you go.